Hello, everyone. It's Jill Woodworth here. Welcome to TSC Talks. I think this is my third podcast, and it's kind of a glum day here in Rutland, Mass. And Nancy Reagan died.
Oh, man, I heard about that.
So, I forgot to introduce my guest. I have a guest with me today. Her name is Maryellen Lacy. She just turned 20. And she is my oldest daughter.
I'm 20.
She's 20. We just said that. And she has tuberous sclerosis complex. She was the first one of my children to have tuberous sclerosis complex. And she is here with me being very brave to talk about just stuff that goes on. So stay tuned, and I will let Maryellen introduce herself. Okay? Maryellen, can you just talk a little bit about your name, what you like to do?
My name's Maryellen Lacy. I like to practice politics and keep up with what's going on. And I've overcome ASD, autism spectrum disorder, and I'm very proud of that. But I still have some traits.
Yeah, well, we can talk about it. How about, why don't I start back now? Maryellen was diagnosed with tuberous sclerosis when she was 6 months old.
Yep.
And she was having seizures, and I don't think she remembers that.
I remember you talking about that all my life.
Right. So she remembers me talking about it, which is funny because I never think that she is picking up on that, but she always is picking up on more than she seems to be. And that's kind of, when she was really little, we noticed her having the infantile spasms, and I shared with you on the last podcast.
What about my own little language where I...
Yeah, we'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. So, anyway, we'll go back. So, Maryellen has, she had Asperger's syndrome, Asperger's disorder, or...
Spectrum disorder.
Autism spectrum disorder.
Yeah, autism.
Yes, that's it. Oh, my goodness. Forgive me, listeners. I'm so sorry. I really am. Anyways, she was on that spectrum. Apparently now she's off it due to,
10 IQ points increase.
Well, because of a neuropsych test we just had done. So anyways, she's not on the autism spectrum anymore, but she still has very, very narrow focused interests that she's had all her life. And while, I think I can relate to a degree because I'll get really passionate about something and be totally into it and want to talk about it all the time, and then I'll get bored with it or I'll forget about it. Yeah, so Maryellen's are just like a very intense version of that, and they go on for years. So,
yes, they do.
Maryellen, what's the first one that you remember?
It was monster trucks.
You remember monster trucks?
I remember monster truck. Can I make a list of what I think I know in a chronological order? Monster trucks. I think then it was the fat obsession, and then
there was a couple in between there. What about?
Oh yeah, the strong obsession when I was 9.
Strong, right? Okay.
Fat, and then I wanted to be fat when I was 10. When I was 11, I was obsessed with Webkins, which was the fad.
When did you want to be thin? Was there?
I wanted to be thin while I was obsessed with Webkins.
So sometimes she'll have tangential obsessions, a few side obsessions that are also more intense than any average typical person, but not as intense as the main one.
A year later I wanted to be a superstar singer and actress. And I was obsessed with silly bands at the same time.
I remember that. Yep, silly bands.
And then I started to take Spanish because of my language knack, which I probably got from Mom because she's really good with English, and that's probably how I picked up Spanish.
Well, thank you.
Welcome.
But I don't speak Spanish.
I know, but you and I probably got the spelling from you because I was a really good speller since the 3rd grade.
Yep.
And that's where the language probably came in.
Yeah, I was always a good speller. So yeah, so then you said you got obsessed with what?
Spanish and tanning, and then French.
Oh right, tanning was the side one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then French was the next main one. and I just had everything French in my room.
Oh my gosh! And everyone would be giving her presents from Paris, and now people still are giving presents from Paris, and she doesn't even want them. So that's how intense the obsession is. That once it's over, she really doesn't even care about, or she doesn't want to have the memories of the old obsession around.
But now, when I was younger, I promised I'd save paying attention to politics till I hit 18, when I would be able to vote, because all my teachers would say if you don't vote, they'll complain. So I saved. Now I'm into politics because I'm 20.
So wait a minute, how did you get into politics?
Well, I didn't know it was going to be an obsession at the time,
Yep.
but in high school, kids used to talk about it, and no one was old enough yet, and Mrs. what's her name, Kirby used to say to Andrew, if you're not old enough, don't complain, and if you don't, so and then I hit 18, and then I had to do a current events assignment in BICO, which was a place that I had to learn social skills.
Yep.
And I found, right when Governor Baker was starting to run for governor, I found that article, and then I registered to vote. I'm a Republican, and I'm still registered today, and I voted, and then I realized I got my right to complain. And then I got really into it.
Yeah, your right to what?
Got really into right-wing politics.
Right. So that's her current obsession, and it's funny because just talking to you, I learned so much that I didn't know. Because all my kids are. I'm looking forward to this interviewing process so I can get to know them. But we're not done yet. So, Maryellen, when did you start to notice that you were not like some of the other kids? Or when did you start to feel different, or didn't you?
Well, I wasn't really aware because I didn't really... I noticed... I always seemed to fit in because I used to be really nice.
People like people that are nice.
But I never used to know... Until I look at my old YouTube videos when I was younger, and I took a lot of them down because I don't want a cone on my head, because in case I ever decide to go into politics, I don't want people to put slurs on me.
That's interesting. You know why? It's interesting to me because that's how she gained the awareness of the fact that she has changed a lot and overcame some really challenging issues, with the tuberous sclerosis, and she used to film these videos, and I think a lot of people would tell you that you were really good
and lie about it.
Right. So that's where you learn. Isn't that what did you learn from that?
What I learned from the fame obsession was don't count your chickens before they hatch.
Yeah.
Just for the little joke, can I tell you about the fat? It's not all fat and butterflies.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Sarah, we were at,
Well, you let me start the narrative. No, it's okay. This is a joke. This is a family joke, and as you get to know the members of my family over these podcasts, you might understand it. But Sarah is very witty and sarcastic, and we were going for a walk
at Trout Brook.
And Maryellen was really upset. This is during her fat obsession, so she was talking about something related to that. And her sister Sarah piped up and said,
"It's not all fat and butterflies," and Mom started bursting with laughter.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny because it's not all like ponies and butter. Sarah put in fat and butterflies, and
because that was a fat obsession.
Yeah, so that's Maryellen holds on to these jokes and these little memories from each of her obsessions. Like they're like old friends that she doesn't need anymore. And as she, what I'm seeing in therapy with you is as you grow and gain she's gaining a lot of self-awareness. She's able to look back and, identify
the horrors of when I was
see, she can gauge her progress, and she's starting to really integrate some really great core values, and I think the therapist is trying to tease out the strong values from the extreme politics, because the social skills aspect, Maryellen has gotten way better, but she used to just run up to anybody and start talking about her obsession. So she'd run up and just random people on the playground, and if we were going to watch something and someone was standing on the sidelines, just go right up and start talking about Webkinz.
I remember that.
I was always embarrassed, and but I just always admired Maryellen's courage, because she had no fear of people as far as starting conversations, and that is a skill that will help you, because I've always been so shy and quiet and timid. Not really timid, but just so introverted. And Maryellen's, she can be an introvert, but she kind of crosses, she kind of has a lot of qualities of both, because she does enjoy time by herself.
Sometimes I just need some time to do my thing.
That's right. And so that's why I am talking way too much. So I'm going to ask Maryellen a few more questions. What was Maryellen had to have brain surgery when she was, how old were you?
I was 14.
So tell me about what that was like leading up to it. Like she has what she had was those TSC listeners that have the terminology. It's a subependymal subependymal giant cell astrocytoma, which was in the foramen of Monroe, which is the top of your and don't quote me on this because I'm not a doctor. Your spinal column.
Not Marilyn Monroe either.
So it puts pressure on the cerebrospinal fluid, and she, showed symptoms of that.
I had dizzy spells, and it was sophomore year, I had to get brain surgery. Well, some of it felt really awkward, like I was embarrassed that I was going for brain surgery, because I just felt like I was labeled as something else that I didn't want the label. Kind of like someone being labeled with a slur, kind of like a dunce.
Well, yeah, because your brain, if you have to have your brain operated on, it must not be working
Especially in high school.
I know, that's so true.
But
you didn't know you were going to have it until, the days before, right?
I know.
A couple days. It was very an emergency situation, so...
And the scar tissue makes me look like I'm 80. I swear.
Nobody can see it.
If you move.
Yeah, I know. But you should, that's just, I guess at some point maybe you'll be able to look at it as a battle scar. You earned this. This is your body.
You earned stripes on Tony the Tiger.
Kind of. Exactly. That's great.
Thank you.
So, can you talk about what it was like to wake up from brain surgery? Because obviously you weren't awake to tell me what it was like to have it.
When I was waking up... sorry.
That's okay.
When I was waking up from it, I didn't really feel like I was waking up. I still felt like I was asleep, because I wasn't really aware of anything.
Really?
Yeah.
So, that's weird. So what, you weren't aware of,
Well, I was aware, but then I went back to sleep and I forgot about it forever.
Oh, so you could, wow, that's interesting. And so then it took you a long time to be able to, walk around the hospital. Do you remember that?
How many weeks?
We were there a couple weeks, and then we came home, and...
I remember some of that.
Do you?
A little bit.
Well, tell me what you remember.
I remember we were in the hospital room, and you would have me get off the bed, and I walk to you or something like that.
And yeah, you would. I remember one time you fell, and you had opened your gown, and a man came in because he was one of the aides. And
I remember some of that.
They needed somebody to lift her right away because they didn't want her to hurt herself. So this man picked her up, and she was falling all out of her hospital gown, and I felt so bad for her, but
I wasn't really aware of that because I was a little bit, but if I were fully aware, I would have been embarrassed. But I wasn't, so that didn't matter.
That's good. And when did you start to get your memory back? Do you think? So you had it in November, and then 1 week after we came home, I noticed her head was getting puffy, like a real cone head. And we had to go back in, and
don't worry, I'm not a dunce.
She had to have a shunt put in, paraventricular, I believe it is, PV shunt. So I'm too distracted or unfocused to explain exactly what that is right now, but it helps drain the fluid.
And I had to get I still have the scar on my stomach from that because